Welcome back to my YouTube channel Games v Life, and today's video is a Unity tutorial. As you can see, I've already kind of put some of the objects that I'm going to use onto the screen, just because my Unity takes its time to kind of like render stuff and add the objects in, but I'll kind of go through how I got the objects into the scene. So what I did for the ground is I basically right click in the hierarchy, which is, as you can see, where all of our objects are, like our scene, main camera and that. And I just went to 3D object and I added a cube in, and then I've just scaled it to sort of the size that I wanted it to make the ground. And I've done the same thing for the ball. Instead of using a cube, I just used a sphere. And then I've put a material object on it. So in the bottom hierarchy, to get a material, we basically go right click, create, and then we've got all of these options that we can use. And then I clicked the material. Unity give you two options of how you can sort of wrap something onto an object. So I've just used the Unity's built-in like color wheel to put a material onto my object. You can also drag your own images in and put them onto and assign them to an object. So I could have assigned my own image onto the ball, and how you would do that is you drag the image into the hierarchy, into the bottom hierarchy here. You do have to change some settings for images, so you have to change them to 2D, and it's like, I think, UI sprite, and then you can assign them to an object. I'm not going to do that for this kind of project. And then the next thing that I did was I went to create, and we have a lot of options that we can choose from. I had to scroll down on mine. It may not be as far down the list on other versions of Unity, but I clicked physics material, which gave me this, and all I've changed is the bounciness. So it just needs to be greater than 0. It can be any number, it doesn't have to be a specific number. I've just picked 1 because that's what I went with. And then all I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag this physics mesh onto both of my objects for the ground and for the floor. I'm just going to check that they've actually assigned, because sometimes when you drag things into the hierarchy, they can sometimes not want to assign. Sometimes they do, other times they don't. I also added a rigid body onto this. So basically a rigid body we add to objects if we're making like any games where we want to have movement or anything, or something do something, we need a rigid body. So how to get the rigid body is you go to add component, and then it gives you these options. You can also type them, but obviously I would just type like rigid, and then we have different options, but I just clicked that. So that's all I've done so far. And if I play the Unity scene now with everything that's added into the scene, so the ground and the floor, and I've just added physics onto the object to make the object do obviously what I want it to do. So obviously for this tutorial, it's just a beginner's one, so it's just trying to get a ball to bounce basically up and down on the ground. My Unity will probably take a while now to actually process this, to actually like play the scene, so I'm just going to stop talking for a bit and let that sort of process. As we can see, the ball bounces up and down on the ground. There is a little shadow from the ball. There is settings in Unity if you didn't want to see a shadow that you can get rid of it, but that's basically what today's tutorial was, is just to try and teach people just the basic kind of how to get something to work in Unity. So like, I just started off with something easy, which was basically just getting a ball to bounce up and down.